Hey everyone! For today's tutorial, I wanted to have fun with colour, so I've created this eye look that transitions from peach to orange to coral to purple. I tackle the concept of placement and how to transition multiple shades without it becoming one big muddy mess. It's a fun look for warm summer nights and I hope you enjoy it. I've gone ahead and completed the foundation and the brows as I would normally. Then prime the eyes with your favourite primer. I think you know how it goes. The first eyeshadow that we're using is Makeup Geek Peach Smoothie, which is a very pale peach. I'm dusting the shadow from the socket upwards, extending the colour quite high towards the brow so that it peeks out from the rest of our shading. Now taking a deeper, more vibrant orange and blending again in the socket, but this time we're not bringing the colour up quite as far, so the edge of our shading is still peach. Brushes, I think, are key for more intricate eye looks. I started with bigger eye brushes and I'm slowly making my way to smaller, more pointed brushes. Deeper and more vibrant yet again, I have a reddened coral shade. It's actually a blush, which I'm etching tighter into the crease. I think in this case, there is such thing as over blending. We want the coral to meet the orange above it, but the overlap is confined so that each shade is distinct. Next, we're mixing a burgundy and sugar pill poison plum and carefully placing the shadow below the coral. I've swapped to a smaller, denser brush for precise placement, and my motions are quite controlled, so we're not mashing purple eyeshadow everywhere. You might want to go back to the bigger brush to soften any sharp edges, but make sure that you step back every now and again, just to make sure that you're not messing up the placement. That is our crease work done, and you can see that the transition between the shades is pretty fluid. Onto the lid, and I'm starting with a teeny tiny cold pencil. This is well loved, clearly. We are roughly lining the top lash line and tight lining too, so that that lash bed is pitch black. Using a lighter hand, tap the black kohl until half the mobile lid is covered. Don't go right up to the crease at this point, because when we go to blend, that kohl will spread further than you might think. Blend any edges with a smudge brush or similar. This bit doesn't have to be perfect because we will be layering an eyeshadow over it. Said eyeshadow, MAC Stars and Rockets. This color makes my heart sing. It's a blurple duochrome. So it shifts from a purple to a blue, and that nuance is accentuated when it's layered over a black base, which is why I use that black kohl prior. We're patting that shadow over the mobile lid, just meeting to the crease color. I always like a bit of extra depth in my socket, so I'm going back with just a touch of that burgundy eyeshadow alone and blending it in the deepest part of the crease. So far, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Moving on to the lower lash line, I'm taking that same cold pencil into the waterline and pushing into the lash bed, then softening the edges with a pointed brush. I see this placement a lot on Pretty Little Liars. I've watched 2 seasons and I am fixated on their lower lashes. Also, has anyone else noticed that they're almost always wearing lash extensions? I was looking at that earlier. Anyway, carrying on, I'm introducing a neutral haze on the lower lash line to make this eye a little bit more wearable, blending that shade quite far down. Now push our stars and rockets close to the lashes, from the inner to the outer corner. That way our lower lash line and the lid look a little bit more like family. I'm forever craving strong highlights, so I'm taking the Sugar Pill Lumi pigment, which is a white with a blue flash. I've chosen this one because it mirrors the blue duochrome in the stars and rockets. Pat that pigment around the tear duct, and I'm adding a little to the ball of the eyelid for some extra dimension. In this tutorial, we've gone from peach to blue eyeshadow, and yet everything blended pretty easily. How did that happen? Cue visual aid. Here is a standard color wheel, and the idea is that a color blends best with the color next door. So we started with a peach, and then we moved on to an orange right next door, Our coral extends further around the color wheel. Burgundy is a mix of purple and reddened tones. Our poison plum is sort of a violet with a hint of red. Stars and rockets shifts between violet and blue. And finally, our pigment was bluish. Now, obviously, the everyday eyeshadow look isn't this complex, but understanding how color theory works can provide a lot of makeup clarity. Back to my mug, we're lining the upper lash line with liquid liner. This is just to conceal the false lash band to come. I think that eyeliner on the upper lash line and, in this case, the low waterline, really helps to ground a bright look and separate all that color from the whites of the eyes. Tight lining mascara thingy-majiggy, I like to use this in lieu of mascara if I'm wearing false lashes. Now I figure I'm wearing half the color wheel on my eyes. Why not go all out with the House of Lashes Noir Fairy? They're super dense, but they have a wispy quality, and I think that they frame our bright eyeshadow really nicely. Big lashes on top calls for big lashes on the bottom too. I'm using the MAC Giga Black Lash, which is a must for those of us who like a lot of lower lash drama. Laura Mercier Bronzo 1. I actually bought this by accident, but it was a happy accident because I adore it. It's a stunning bronzer for pale skin tones. On my medium skin, it registers more as a subtle warmth, and I like to apply it around the hairline so my face doesn't look really flat. On that note, girl, you know I'm contouring. A little bit of MAC Omega just in the hollows of the cheekbones. I feel much better now. I feel more like myself. We have warmer and cooler tones on the eyes, so blush-wise, you can go either way. I went for a reddish coral, and this is a Chanel blush. I love this formula. It's easy to wear, sheer but buildable, and the formula just imparts the skin with a beautiful glow. I could do with some more glow. This is one of my current favorite highlighters. Half the pan is a satin finish, which I dust all over the high points of the face, so down the nose, on the cheekbones, above the brow, chin, you know me. Then I use the stronger shimmer portion of the pan, just on the very tops of the cheekbones for a more intense sheen. For the lips, starting with a lip liner that I've used pretty much every day for the past few weeks. Absolutely besotted. It closely resembles my natural lip color, and I'm filling in the body of the lips also. Initially, I thought I would dab some Anastasia Pure Hollywood over that lip liner, but it has a bit of a gray tinge and I felt it was clashing with the eyes. So I added a touch of, what's this called? Retro Coral, just to the center of the lips for some extra saturation. And that is the final look. I wore this to a casual dinner, believe it or not, but in my head, it was 2010. And I was clubbing in Ibiza. I used 7 eyeshadows, correct. This tutorial is definitely for the love of makeup. Fingers crossed that you feel inspired or you learn something new. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, and I will speak to you all very soon. Bye bye.